Hi everyone, so this is a video that I have been putting off making subconsciously for a little while now, but I can't put it off anymore. I'm going to have to talk about this. The subject matter is serious and pretty heavy, so before we dive into anything, I won't say my usual intros. I will just say, look, everyone is welcome here, regardless of opinion. We can agree to disagree. We don't tolerate crap. It's a safe space. So if you want to join, hit subscribe. And yes, if you would like to support me in the channel, all of my links are below. Yes, I offer readings. I've got Patreon. I've got all those types of things, teach on there. So yeah, please do check it out if you're interested. Okay, now that's out of the way. So I've tried to start this video a few times and it's like, how do you find the words with something so heavy? Now, I just want to say that I do not condone what happened to Charlie. You can hate me for that, whatever. I don't condone it. If we in the Western world, the UK, the USA especially, if we want a world where we can speak our mind freely, if we want free speech, we have to allow others to speak their mind too. Even if those others have opinions that we do not like, that we disagree with, even if those others share things that we are not aligned with, who are we to stop them? Because ultimately, whether you like it or not, human beings, as we are, we've always kind of been this way. We've never gotten along. People are not going to agree on everything. People are going to have their ideas and their way of seeing things. That does not mean they deserve to be unalived for those ideas, regardless of political leanings or religious beliefs, etc. I am a firm believer in live and let live, and that is my philosophy. That's the way I am. I won't shove things down anyone else's throats, so long as they don't shove it down mine. We can all coexist in a manner of speaking. Now, what happened to Charlie? No, I don't condone, but no, I don't agree with his viewpoints that he had. I didn't even know who he was when it happened. I didn't even know who the hell he was. I made a short video about it, just quickly saying my piece, and left it at that. But there's more to it now. A news outlet called Jezebel, again, I hadn't heard of them until recently, published an article saying that they paid Etsy witches to curse Charlie. And lo and behold, a few days later, what happened. Is this mere coincidence? Did the curse work? Did witches really do that? Now, looking into this, Jezebel is a left-wing media outlet. The irony is not lost on me that it is called Jezebel. Two Christian fundamentalists especially in America, they do use that terminology of Jezebel quite a bit. They talk about the Jezebel spirit. They talk about her basically being a demoness and that it's an evil spirit, a spirit of prostitution, sexuality, corruption. That's the way they see Jezebel. Jezebel was a character, a name, a woman in the Bible. She was a queen, a Canaanite queen. And, you know, she was her own being, let's say. I'm not here to argue about whether she's good or bad, but the name of this media outlet, Jezebel, is not a coincidence, first and foremost. They have knowingly picked that name to stir the pot, given that I believe they're American. It's on purpose. Now, what's prompted me to make this video is right-wing media that has been shown up on my YouTube. Now, I am not picking a side here. I'm not. I'm just not, okay? Personally, I can see good and bad in both arguments in both sides of the spectrum. I have spoke about this on the channel as well. But the right-wing fundamentalist people are saying that this is demonic, that this was orchestrated. The whole Jezebel thing isn't lost on them, obviously the symbolism of that. I even heard a guy saying something about what happened with President Trump, his failed assassination, something about in Judaism there's a ritual where blood has to touch the right ear and it has to touch their hand, and something about shoes. Whatever this ritual may or may not be, I don't know the full ins and outs of that. I've never heard of that in my life. But they're really taking this and running with it. And it's not lost on me as well that some right-wingers are, well, using him as basically like a martyr. Now, I'm not here to get into that, okay? I don't want to. Plenty of people have, plenty of people do get into politics. But for reasons I've explained on the channel before, I see good and bad in all sides of human reality. I really do. So that is an argument that I do not want to have, and I will not be having at this present moment. So you can like it or lump it, okay? My reasoning, however, for mentioning that is the symbolism, okay, and how both sides are using the symbolism to their advantage, whether it's to stir controversy or whether it's to martyr someone and say that, oh, this is divine and this is demonic, this is, God's will and all of this jazz is what I'm hearing. So both sides are using symbolism to their advantage with regards to that. Now, when it comes to Jezebel mentioning witches, Etsy witches, do I personally think this worked? Now, I'm not just saying this because I am a witch who also sells on Etsy. I sell readings. I don't sell spells at time of recording. Do I think that it worked? No. I'm not saying that because I'm a witch myself, to protect myself or anything like that. Honestly, I don't. Why? Because Etsy as a platform is full of scammers. It has been a bugbear of mine since I first started selling on there, and around, I think it was 2020, 2021, that time period when I first ever opened my shop. Back then I didn't have YouTube, I did have a TikTok account, I was selling bone readings, osteomancy, and I was selling basic tarot readings. I was very much like a beginner for reading for others at the time, so my prices were a lot different, and I was dipping my toes in the water until I built things up, okay, as is normal. And I followed suit, to be honest, because I saw other people selling on Etsy and I'd heard of Etsy, and I looked into their policies. And for a beginner who has no background, I had no following really at the time, it's a good place to start. It's like selling other things. You might set up an eBay account if you want to resell clothes or something, because there is that existing marketplace on there. So that's why I personally joined. But since joining, I've just kept it all these years because I've built up a customer base. I've got good reviews, touch wood. And some people just prefer to shop on a platform instead of somebody's website. Even though my website is like a Squarespace website, and it is all above board because I am above board with what I do. Some people just prefer to go to a well-known platform like Etsy or eBay or Amazon. Even you get Amazon sellers, but people would prefer to go to the shop on Amazon instead of the website of people. It's just a thing. So I've kept it. But since then, the amount of scammers that get on Etsy is unreal, and that's been a bugbear since day one, and it's just getting worse and worse, especially with the rise of AI. Now, Etsy changed their policy, but I don't see that they're strictly sticking to it. It was only in recent months they changed their policy that people weren't supposed to be able to sell spells anymore. You could sell divination, like readings, but not spells, and yet people still do. So make it make sense. They're obviously not enforcing what they're saying the rules are, which was only a recent development. But if that was so, then Jezebel shouldn't technically have been able to buy a spell because it was against Etsy's terms anyways. You see, these scammers, they sell spells. I've seen spells over time, stuff like winning the lottery. I mean, that is absurd. Weight loss spells. It doesn't work the way you want. Love spells, again, doesn't work the way you want. All sorts of spells. Now, I've also seen what they call attunements, which in other words, is just a big crock of shit to get your money. And I'm so sorry if you're listening to this and you fell for any of this. Attunements are like saying they're attuning your energy to a certain deity or an energy. Like I've seen them for Hecate, seen them for the Greek gods, Norse gods. I've seen them for demons. I've seen them for angels. It's just a quick book. It's a load of shit. It really is. If you want to connect with a spirit, a deity, a higher power, you do it. They don't need your attunements or spells. I've seen spirit portals and haunted dolls. I mean, some of them may be genuine. 99.9% of them, probably not. And even in the realms of readings, which is my ultimate bugbear because I am genuine. I really am. You don't have to believe what I believe. You don't even have to believe I can do what I do. Don't get a reading then. It's never any pressure. But when I do my readings, they are from the heart and I do try my best, whether you want to believe it or not. I really do. I'm being me and I'm doing the work. There are people out there that use AI for readings. I've mentioned this on the channel before. It breaks my heart because I've had a few people now contact me saying they were really interested in Hecate and they bought a reading off someone and it turned out to be AI, and it's like, the beginners, it shattered their illusions because some twats using AI. It's like people who use AI to write books, people who use AI to cheat on their homework. AI, man, it's got a lot to answer for. So when it comes to the realm of Etsy in general, truthfully, I don't think it worked. I really don't. My intuition says no. I strongly feel there's something in this symbolism, this is my take on it, that we are being targeted as other minorities are. And I'm not meaning this to take political sides here, all right? But this is just how history has worked, always and forever. It's human cycles. They pick on minority groups on purpose. It's happening across the globe. It's what humans do. And it's happened in the past. The literal witch trials happened. The people who died in the witch trials across Europe and the USA, in Salem, they were not witches. A tiny portion of them might have practiced herbalism or something like that. But they were not witches. They were not magical practitioners in that way. They were people that were scapegoated, people that others had a problem with for whatever reason, people didn't like. So they victimized them. This happens throughout time, and it's happening again. And it's not just to witches. Obviously, we've got minorities that are picked on all the time. Look at some movements that have happened in recent years, trying not to get political there. And I don't know the full ins and outs of other movements. I'm speaking as a witch in this situation here. But it is a thing, all right? And whether we like it or not, as witches, we are a minority. Even though it's becoming more mainstream and more prevalent, it's still a minority in the grand scheme of things. To be a witch is a minority, because to some people it is still taboo and there's a lot of stereotypes around it. So no, I don't think it worked, because ultimately I think if they have bought spells from people on Etsy, I think the law of averages, it's probably going to be a scam. of some variety. Now, they do have the names of the so-called witches that did this. We've got, the shop was owned by someone called Priestess Lilith, and then in some articles it says that it's their sister, High Priestess Lamashtu, that did the spell. Now, it's not lost on me the irony here. Lilith Lamashtu. Now, Lilith is one of my goddesses. She is a controversial figure. She is known as Mother of Demons. She predates Judaism with figures like Lamashtu. Now, Lamashtu was a demoness from Mesopotamian times that was said to be responsible for the unaliving of children, which is horrible. You know, it's heinous. It's not something I would condone. However, it is part of nature. Sadly, stillbirths happen, miscarriages happen, these things happen, even today. And she is the force that is the name for it, let's say, you know, because if you think, you know, in ancient times, they didn't have the understanding we do about medicine, etc. It was a lot more spiritual back then. And so they would have gods and spirits that ruled over different things. Lamashtu rules over that, sadly, but that is the case. Lamashtu as a goddess, as a demoness, now is found in left-hand path practices, and she is conflated with Lilith, because it is said in Judaism that Lilith was also responsible for that. Now, these beings, can they be responsible for it? Yes, they can. As much as it may pain me as a human being to say it, yes, they can. However, and especially in the case of Lilith, I don't know with Lamashtu because I don't have experience myself of working with her, but Lilith is capable of the opposite too. She is capable of such benevolence and such kindness and nurturing energy. When it comes to deities in general, they are multifaceted beings. Deities can do dark, heinous, what we would think are evil things, but they can also do benevolent and loving things. And you normally find if there is a deity that rules over something, they are capable of the opposite too, whether that's on the light spectrum or the dark spectrum. So with Lilith, yes, it is said that she is responsible for that. However, she's also responsible for birth and life. She helps souls be reborn. She helps children be born into the world. An example, I always give him as an example because he seems to be relatable to a lot of people, but Apollo is a god that rules over healing, but he also rules over plagues and pestilence. Yahweh himself, who is now the Christian God. Obviously there's dogma with that, but Yahweh started as a Canaanite deity himself. And he was a storm god, a sky god. He could be so benevolent, he could be a kind ruler, but he could also rule with an iron fist. Even in the Bible, the whole, you must fear me, the whole plagues and, you know, things he did to people who were unalived in his name. He is multifaceted too. Now, I've heard some Christians say, oh, the God of the Old Testament is not my God. And like, I get it, I do. It's hard to face up to the fact that your deity can be capable of these things. You don't want to be worshipping something evil. I wouldn't want to be either. But gods are multifaceted, just as we as humans are. We are capable of lovely, amazing, beautiful things. But also we're capable of the opposite. Look at what's happened to this Charlie guy, you know. Somebody did that. Somebody made that choice. For me personally, I could never dream of making a choice like that. But somebody did. So, that being said, those were the names, Priestess Lilith and High Priestess Lamashtu, of these witches. Look, no tea, no shade, no pink lemonade. I'm trying to make a joke in this heavy video. But with names like that, it's giving edgelord. It's giving, and I know that's judgmental of me, I'm sorry. But it's giving that type of person, and my intuition, my gut is screaming at me, it's that type of person who is picking the edgiest magical name. And from what I read in the articles, because they no longer have a shop on Etsy, their career is out the window as well. From what they were selling, though, from what the articles said anyways, it was stuff to do with, edgy things, black magic pacts and all this stuff. Sounds very edgy to me. It's like if I picked a magical name of I don't know, Babylon, Jezebel, harlot of I don't know, Lower Egypt. I don't know, I can't think of something. But it's like picking this edgy damn name. Yeah, like you can't call yourself, I don't know, Lily. You had to be a Lilin. Lilin is a term for the child of Lilith. You had to link it with Lilith. You had to link it with edgy energy. I love Lilith so much. And I know she can be darkness and she can be capable of these things, but I just truly don't feel she was in this case. And that's not because I love her so much. It's just, I just don't think these people were capable of that. Now, as long as they've been magical practitioners, not just witches, not just Caucasian witches, but witches of other cultures and magical practitioners of other cultures, I'm thinking of root work and stuff like that. Now, that is not something for me to fully comment on, but what I am saying is that as long as there's been practitioners, there have been people selling their wares and people willing to curse people, willing to do not nice spells on people for others. That's always been the way. That's always been the case. So, slim chance, in my opinion, but maybe there could have been a slim chance something like that happening. But I honestly don't think it was. When it comes to this spiritual warfare stuff and what some of these fundamentalist people are saying, people are saying that they've been throwing magic at Trump. Okay, whether you like it or not, he's an example. He has supporters that are witches, whether you like it or not. He has magical practitioners that support him, even people he does not know. There is one such woman on this very app on YouTube that has spoke out, who calls herself a witch and says she supports Trump. Each their own, do what you want. Like I say, I'm not getting political about that, whatever, but wherever your politics lie, if somebody wants to curse or hex someone in power, know that once you start putting yourself out there, people have people who like them and back them up. Even the most heinous people do. So to do that to a public figure, especially one who is a leader of one of the biggest countries, it's very hard pressed for it to work, and to do that to a public figure, even like Charlie, who maybe he wasn't a leader of the world or whatever, but he had a big following in his niche. To do that to him would be a stretch, in my opinion. Not impossible, but a big damn stretch. Because there's going to be people who are sending their love, adoration, praise towards him and towards figures like him to protect. So, truthfully, as long as there've been witches, there will always be people who are willing to do such things, yes. But whether those things work is another story. And the people of other cultures and stuff that do it, I mean, they do it, we do it, like, it's always been a thing and it always will be. Now is not the time to start pointing fingers because we've always done that. You know what I mean? Like, I hope that makes sense. Like, that's always been a thing, whether you like that or not. And yeah, whether you like it or not, people's energy sent towards public figures, good and bad, it will offer some form of protection. Sadly, in his case, well, what's happened has happened. But for the Etsy witches, I just do not think it was them. I just strongly do not think it was. Just because I know the state of Etsy, the calibre, I don't know them personally, obviously, but the calibre of people on there, I just don't think it was. I really don't. That's what my gut says anyways. And now it just feels like some kind of excuse to go after another minority. I know there's a book that's being spread around about the pagan threat, and now they're starting to talk about paganism in a bad way and bringing up things like Baal and all this stuff. Yeah, only time will tell how that unfolds. Only time will tell what weight that will all hold, because there's always been satanic panic since like the 70s. It's just basically on the rise again. That's what's happening. Who knows what's going to unfold, really, the state of the world. But as a witch who sells on Etsy, who works with Lilith, no, I don't think it was that. I really don't. Anyways, that's my opinion. Yeah. Whether you like it or not, that's that. And yeah, rest in peace to him. I genuinely mean that. Yeah, I do. And obviously, even though I didn't really know who he was at one point and don't agree with what he's got to say or what he did have to say, doesn't mean he deserved that. Okay. Anyways, right, I'm going. I know this will be a divisive topic. I just ask, if you made it this far, first, thank you. Keep it civil, please. I know you can unsubscribe, you can subscribe, do what you want. This is not personal. Not in that way anyways. Look, it is what it is. Anyways, look, I'm rambling now. I don't really know what else to say. It's a very heavy topic to talk about, but I felt like I had to. All right, take care, stay safe, stay witchy. Bye.